Welcome to Life Recovery Today with Stephen Arterburn. In the next half hour, you'll obtain insights and tools to transform your life using the biblical principles found in the 12-step program. We believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience because we all have struggles in life. Struggles with addictions, food, depression, anxiety, and relationships, to name a few. You'll be encouraged to see how others have found a new way of life with hope for the future through life recovery. Your host is Steve Arterburn, founder of New Life Ministries and Women of Faith, author of over 100 books, and teaching pastor at Northview Church in Carmel, Indiana, one of the 20 largest churches in America. Steve is the co-editor of the Life Recovery Bible, the #1 selling recovery Bible. With over 3 million copies sold, this is the Bible given to inmates by Prison Fellowship and the Pew Bible for the Salvation Army. Now here's Steve.
Hi there. Welcome to Life Recovery Today. Steve Arterburn here, and really glad that you've joined me. I want to go back to the very beginning, about 30 years ago, that Tyndale House Publishers had a meeting about doing a Bible for recovering drug addicts, is the way they put it. They agreed to do it, and someone said, well, call Dave and tell him we're going to do it. And half the room said, what are you talking about, Dave? Call Steve. Half the room, they were looking at a different proposal, Dave's proposal. The other half's looking at mine. And when they realized it, they said, well, do you think they would want to do it together? And sure enough, of course, we did. We'd already been writing together. And 4 years later, Life Recovery Bible came out. When 2021, the best-selling Bible list came out, Every Man's Bible was number 4, but there was no adult study Bible before it. And Life Recovery was number 6. So in the top 10, there are 2 Bibles there, Every Man's Bible and Life Recovery Bible. Isn't it interesting? Tyndale thought they'd probably sell about 100,000. And now we're approaching 4 million. And Prison Fellowship gives away about 100,000 of them every single year. And so what does that have to do with anything? Well, I got to tell you, recently we've had some pretty tough times. And a lot of people in parts of the world tougher than ever. And I want you to hear what the psalmist said that could help us through tough times. Because this Bible is not for yesterday, it's for today. David wrote this, "The Lord is my light and my salvation, so why should I be afraid? The Lord is my fortress, protecting me from danger, so why should I tremble? When evil people come to devour me, when my enemies and foes attack me, they will stumble and fall. Though a mighty army surrounds me, my heart will not be afraid. Even if I am attacked, I will remain confident. The one thing I ask of the Lord, the thing I seek most, is to live in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, delighting in the Lord's perfections and meditating in His temple." You know, it's really kind of a reflection of this 11th step in the 12 steps of life recovery. We sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God, praying only for the knowledge of His will and the power to carry that out. And so here David was doing something that was a sign of spiritual growth. Most of the time, people turn to God for help. But sometimes, as we grow, we're surprised that we're just wanting to be with God, to be in God's presence. And that's what David was saying. And, God is always there. The problem is maybe we're just not aware, or we don't stop long enough to experience His presence. So I just want to challenge you that if you've never worked through the 11th step, maybe you could do that or start today by looking at what is it that stands in the way of me just wanting to be in the presence of God. Because that's where true peace and comfort and joy can be found. When we come back, I'm going to talk to Rick Bosch, and I think you're going to enjoy his story. He has a pretty unique plan, and we'll do that after this.
Are you going through your struggles alone? Do you want someone to talk to help you through your pain? Do you feel like a failure when you relapse again, telling yourself, next time will be different? Don't walk this path alone anymore. Join a life recovery group today and be a person that your friends and family can be proud of. God created us to be in community, and we believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience. There are life recovery groups all over the country, and if there isn't one in your area, we can help you start one. Life Recovery brings recovery to you, right where you are. You'll take a journey with others to find healing and freedom. Whether you're looking to join a group or start one, New Life Ministries is here for you. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE or visit liferecoverytoday.net.
Welcome back to Life Recovery Today. Steve Arterburn here. A couple of weeks ago we had Landon Porter on from Northview Church, and Landon was the one that put together this True Freedom workbook. Well, you need a book if you're going to have a workbook, and so today we have the author of this book. His name is Rick Bosch. The book True Freedom. And I really do believe, there are many paths, there are many steps, there are many keys, or whatever you want to call them. But I think this is a great little plan, and it so follows those principles and those foundations in the 12 steps. There's nothing in here that goes against that or the Bible. It is all about the Bible. And so, True Freedom, 5 choices to help you overcome the obstacles and move forward. And my guest is the author. Rick has 5 kids. He is a pastor, and he lives in Caldwell, Idaho. Must not be a very bad place to live if it's in Idaho. Rick, welcome to Life Recovery Today. How you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing great. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Well, tell us about your church. You're a pastor? What kind of pastor?
Yes, I'm a pastor. I actually am a director of a recovery program, a brand new recovery program that we're starting here. I've actually worked at 2 other churches and ran recovery programs there for the last 18 years.
And of course, those programs, I am assuming, integrated Christ and the 12 steps. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Or not?
Yes, they have. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, tell us about your story. How did you come to this point where you're helping other people in recovery?
Well, it's an interesting story. My wife and I helped start a church in Washington. We're originally from Washington State. And the church was really exploding after a few years of growth. And we found that there was a huge need for helping, people with addiction, with pain in their life. And so I was on the leadership team at the time. And, as we were talking about that, I kind of said, hey, I'd be interested in go ahead and leading that program. Now, at the time, I never really understood a lot about recovery. I didn't have a lot of personal experience myself, but, I was willing to step into that. And I went to a couple conferences, and we launched a program there in our church, and we started seeing all kinds of people coming to the church. And it was going great. I thought that I knew everything, and lo and behold, we do have 5 kids. Our oldest daughter, she got into a car accident, and somebody rear-ended her, hurt her neck and her back. And so the doctor prescribed oxycodone.
Oh, boy.
And after a few months, she became addicted. Now, we didn't know that at the time, but she was very addicted to the drug. And when the prescription ended, well, she moved into heroin. And we thought, as a family, my wife and I, we thought, well, she's just going through a bad phase in her life. She was just struggling, right. And all those things, only to find out, yes, she did. She did have an addiction to heroin. So it was a shock to us, for sure.
I would imagine so. And so common that people go and they become dependent on the prescription. Physician won't give anymore. The responsible physician doesn't. And then rather than the person get help, they find whatever they can find on the street. It's so tragic. It's so tragic, all the folks that, and you know, when drugs like that were being sold to physicians, the marketing piece was, hey, we found something that really kills that pain, but isn't addictive. And it's just really sad. So so what happened with her? How's she doing?
Well, so it's a long story. Of course, that's why I wrote a book. But she continued once we found out that she was addicted to heroin. And that, of course, we talked to her. We said that we'd get her help, you know, but she wasn't interested at all. And we had to set a boundary in our house because we had other kids, of course, there. And she decided to go ahead and leave and go out on her own. And it was one of the hardest decisions we ever had to make. I mean, my wife and I cried many, many evenings thinking, you know, would we get that phone call and find out that, you know, she had overdosed. During that time, my second daughter had moved out. This is in their teenage years, later teenage years. And my oldest daughter moved in with my second daughter and got her hooked on heroin as well. So now we had two daughters that were hooked on heroin.
Oh my goodness.
And,
wow.
Oh yeah. It was not easy, and we really learned the dynamic that happens in families when addiction takes over.
Well, so what turned it around? Tell us the thing that made the difference.
Well, you know, we took her, eventually we took her to 3 rehab programs. Each one of them, she relapsed afterwards. It wasn't until we really stepped out of that role that she got to the place where she decided she didn't want to live like this anymore. She went into a program on her own, and she worked through that program. She got off of heroin. As well as my other daughter as well. Both of them as sisters went into a program themselves.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's just so frequent that we hear parents saying it wasn't that they were just going to do this forever. We had to do something different. We had to quit doing things that made us feel better or whatever we thought was right and do the hard thing. And then you hear these recovery stories like this. And it's easy to say, but when you're in this thing, you just believe one more good thing is going to turn this around, and it simply doesn't.
It doesn't. No, it doesn't. And you know, it affects all of us. It surely affected my identity. You know, as a pastor, I thought, well, what a failure I am, you know, and my kids were actually raised in the church. You know, they went to Christian schools, but, you know, addiction has no bounds.
Right. Well, and two, you know, you could say that this is a result of what I call an innocent addiction. Your daughter didn't ask for that drug, that prescription medication. But once you get hooked on that, you're hooked. And you look good, you believe the same, but there's this animal called addiction that with a life of its own. And then, of course, she's going to get her sister involved in stuff. And really, it all began with that prescription medication. It's so common today. And, well, it is. I hope they're both doing well.
They are. Actually, they both have been clean for several years now. They both love God. They both are engaged in a relationship with Him, you know, and it has really changed not only them, but it's changed our whole family. And it gave me that perspective in recovery that I understand so much better than I did when I started.
Well, I'm going to put you on the spot, and you didn't know I was going to ask this question, but you've written the book, True Freedom.
Yes.
What is false freedom?
What is false?
False freedom. You've written a book on true freedom. What would you say are the elements of a false freedom?
Well, I would say this, that a lot of us strive to have freedom in our life. And so what we see as freedom is being able to do anything that we desire, to have that freedom to make our own choices and our own decisions and to, literally have no boundaries in our life.
Yeah,
That's a false freedom because when that happens, of course, we forget that there are consequences to that freedom.
yeah, really good. So
Yeah.
true freedom is not just being able to do everything that you want to
No.
do and meet
No.
every desire. That's false freedom. How
Yeah.
do you define true freedom?
Well, true freedom is really, of course, centered around Christ. And it's
Yeah.
really understanding his purpose in our life, living within his boundaries, because his boundaries are always to help us, to create safety for us, to create blessing and joy in our lives. And that's really what we all want. And so to find that true freedom, it has to begin with a relationship with Christ.
Awesome. Well, you've got 5 choices, and I want to cover every one of them when we come back from this break. And I hope something that we talk about here might help you to find this thing called true freedom. We'll be back.
It's hard to find a trusted friend when you're in crisis, someone who's been there and understands, but who also has the training and skill to give you practical help. Family, friends, and churches want to help, but often they're not equipped to care for those dealing with problems like addiction and pornography, infidelity, anger, depression. New Life Ministries is here to provide help and hope in life's hardest places. We're not focused on making people feel better. We're focused on helping people do the work that will help them be better. At New Life, we have resources available to help you, like books, DVDs, CDs, workshops, and our network of licensed counselors. If you need help, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and begin your new life today.
Welcome back to Life Recovery Today. Rick Bosch is my guest, and he just told this wonderful story of 2 daughters who they made it out of addiction. And if you have a child that's still in it, so often we have to ask ourselves, what am I doing that's promoting this or enabling this, and what do I need to do something different? And I'm so glad that so many stories come our way of parents make a choice to do the hard thing finally, and their kids respond and they get better. Not always the case, but pretty frequent. So Rick, you've got 5 choices. Let's start with the first one. The first choice for true freedom is surrender. Talk about that.
Yes. Yeah, so I really know, just like the 12 steps, that it's so important to understand that we have to get to the end of ourself. And so I really see surrender is so important that we have to give up our desire, our will, and we really have to turn that over to Christ and let him guide and direct us to be our strength to get through the difficulties of life, whether it be addiction, pain, whatever it is.
And we fight like crazy to have enough strength and power to do it on our own, and then we finally surrender. I always like to point out that you can surrender like we think of as total everything all in. That's one kind of surrender, tears, everything. But another kind of surrender is just compliance. It's a willingness. Maybe you don't want to, but you say, okay, I'm just going to do what these other people have done that got better.
Yes.
I don't believe in it. I don't want it, but I'm just going to do it. And that's a powerful form of surrender also. Second choice is ownership.
Yes. And ownership's really all about taking responsibility for the actions that we have lived out, and we live in a society today that we're always a victim. We're always making excuses, but really ownership is saying, no, this is the things that I have done that have led me to the place where I am today. And it really takes that inventory of our life on, our past pain, our past decisions, consequences, things like that.
Yeah. And so important that if we're not taking ownership for our lives, there's a good chance that we're being owned by someone or some substance of some source. because it's not, we hear this, so I was waiting on the Lord for the Lord to heal me or step in. And so often we're waiting for God to do what God is waiting for us to do. Don't be owned by something, but become the responsible person who takes ownership. One of the things that my sons say is, whatever the parent does, it's not our fault, but it's our problem if they make a mistake. And it's our responsibility to deal with the problem that the parent created. And that's just a really good way to look at it, because parents aren't perfect. In fact, many are quite destructive. All right, the choice to heal. What is that?
So this was really important to me because it all involves forgiveness. And all of us have been hurt in our lives, by other people and that. But then again, we have also hurt people as well. And so again, it's understanding that pain in our lives and taking ownership of that pain, forgiving those who have hurt us, and asking for forgiveness for those things that we have done to hurt other people.
And so, just as God's mercies are new every morning, and He is rich in mercy, we need to do the same thing. We need to be merciful. We need to provide the grace that we've received to other people, because that'll make them feel better? No, because if you don't do that, then you're just stuck with them, carrying them around for the rest of your life. Now, the choice...
go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, on the one thing also is receiving that forgiveness from God. A lot of people feel like God could never forgive them for what they have done, and it's really taking them on a journey also to understand on how to receive God's forgiveness.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're not that bad, people, that God wouldn't forgive you. So the choice, fourth choice, to grow.
Yep, it's to grow. And that is growing in our spiritual walk with God. It's changing how we think, because we know our thinking is not always correct. And, that's so important to captivate those thoughts that we have, that negative thinking, that we have that self-talk, and replace them with God's word in our lives, and having that growth that happens each and every day.
Okay, and so we grow, and then you got a fifth choice, the choice to connect.
Yep. And connection is connecting with God, connecting with others, serving, of course, other people, getting outside of ourselves, and then sharing our testimony, because, of course, just like the 12th step, God wants us to, give back to others, because God has done so much for us.
Why do you think it is so hard for us human beings to connect with other human beings?
Yeah, I think the number one reason is rejection. We feel like if people really know me, that they're not going to like me, and they're going to reject me.
Yeah. And that's why it's so important for us to be able to forgive ourselves, to accept Christ's forgiveness, to be fully rid of shame. Because if you don't, somebody might say, I really respect you and love you, and your default is, but if they only knew me, they wouldn't. And then, you're missing the joy that comes when someone says, hey, I really like you and appreciate you. Now, if somebody is in trouble, what do you think they ought to do to get better? What's the first thing to make things different?
Really, the first step is really to admit that you can't fix yourself. You need help, and that's a hard decision to make. It's that choice to say, I can't fix myself. I can't do it in my own power. I need to go get some help.
Mm-hmm. And if somebody wants to get this material, True Freedom, maybe to start a group in their church, and here's the True Freedom workbook and beautiful covers, what would they need to do?
Well, they could go to our website. It's called truefreedombook.com. So one word, truefreedombook.com. And we have all the information there. We've been using it in the church. I just moved up to Idaho. I was in Albuquerque for 10 and a half years. We started it there. We've seen hundreds of people go through this program, see great success. So we're really excited
Awesome.
about it.
Awesome.
Yep.
Well, Rick, thanks for joining me. My best to you, and I hope and
Thank
pray
you.
that God blesses your ministry, because there are a lot of people that aren't going to those groups that are counting on you to help those that are coming. We'll take a break. Be right back.
Life recovery isn't just about making the courageous choice to give up an addiction or dependency. It's a journey towards health, wholeness, and becoming your very best you. If you need resources to help you in your journey, we can help. There are many life recovery resources that you can do on your own, with a group, or with your church. We have Bibles, workbooks, and devotionals that you can use to work your recovery right where you are. That's the beauty of life recovery. To learn more or to get the Life Recovery Bible or any other life recovery resource, visit liferecoverytoday.net or call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
Welcome back to Life Recovery Today. You know, along the way, every one of my kids has gone to one Montessori school or another. Really a fascinating learning system. But I remember reading that the founder thought that within every child is a desire for someone to help me do it all by myself. And so I think that is a wonderful childlike place to be every day in our recovery. It's not God, do it for me, or God, take it away, but it's God, come in, give me strength and power to help me recover so that I'm not dependent on other people, on substances, even habits or behaviors that are destructive. I want to be by myself healthy so that I then can have healthy connections with other people. So if you're asking God for help, ask God, God, help me. Help me do what you want me to do, and help me to be free, not by waiting for you to do the miracle, but for me to be an active participant in a miraculous transformation from the inside out to become a person of character. That really is what life recovery is all about. And I'm so grateful that I get to talk with you about life recovery. If you need some help, you call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. I'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining us for Life Recovery Today with Stephen Arterburn. We hope this program has helped you integrate God's truth and wisdom into your recovery journey. This program is brought to you by New Life Ministries, and it's your support that keeps this program on the air. When you contact us for any reason, be sure to let us know that you watch on NRB. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE or go to liferecoverytoday.net. Please join us again next week for more Life Recovery Today.